Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's energy of the week, from today the 16th of June until Sunday the 22nd of June. I hope you can all hear me and this is coming through okay. I'm on my phone today because I couldn't get my laptop to do what it needed to do so that I could broadcast from there, which is what I normally do. Anyway, doesn't matter, I'm trying it this way. So this week is really all about healing, actually, and we're heading towards the sun moving into Cancer at the weekend, and of course the summer solstice is on the 21st of June in the Northern Hemisphere, and there's the winter solstice in the Southern Hemisphere. So over in the Northern Hemisphere, that's and the Southern Hemisphere, that's kind of like halfway through the traditional year. So it's a really good time to review where you're at, see how things have gone for you since the beginning of the year. How are you feeling? What do you want to take with you into the second half of the year? That kind of thing. So one of the things that's happening this week, as far as I understand it in terms of the astrology, is that the sun is sextiling. Don't really know what that means. Chiron. I think that's tomorrow. And this is going to give us an insight into what we need. It's going to help us to understand, what is keeping us from really knowing what our true value is. Because although we might say that we know what it is, and although we might think we know what it is, sometimes, it's the case that we don't really believe it, we don't really know. So that's going to be helpful for you, and it's kind of a week where you're going to feel like you want to take action, you really want to move things forward, which is nice. And just remembering as well, like if you're really struggling to move forward, or if you're really struggling to let go of that one thing that seems to keep repeating, which is keeping you stuck in some way, and you're not sure what to do about it, then it's always good to ask your guides, offer it up to a higher power, ask for a sign, ask for some knowing and understanding, ask them to help you, because we're doing our human things every day, and sometimes we can get a bit stuck, can't we? You might also find, because it is a bit of a healing week, you might also find that things come up again this week, where maybe things that you thought you'd healed. Does that sound familiar? Or you thought you dealt with, and actually it comes up to be shown to you again. So for example, you might think you've set a boundary in a relationship, just as a off the top of my head type of example. But then something happens in that relationship, or maybe in a different relationship where it's the same boundary, to show you that actually you haven't quite set it right, or perhaps the other person doesn't understand it. So it's that kind of thing, that's what I'm feeling anyway, that might show up. It's also a really good week for sort of practicing, well, it's always a good time to practice gratitude, but really practicing gratitude for what you've got, what you've got already, because we're always looking for something else, aren't we? But maybe if we learn to remember and acknowledge what we have got and how far we've come, because we've all come a really long way, and we're grateful for that, and we give thanks to that, we give thanks to ourselves because we've done the work, then you tend to raise your frequency, which will bring in, even more of what you want and less of what you don't want. So that's also a really good thing to do this week. And just spending some time, some time in reflection, and creating some balance as well is important. Okay, so some of you, the last few months have been really struggling to get some balance in your life. Maybe you're working too hard, maybe you're not working hard enough, maybe your personal life is taking too much of your attention. But it's just somewhere where there seems to be something out of balance. Maybe you're giving too much to one person or other people in your life. It feels like you need to bring the energy back to you. That's what it feels like. The other thing that's coming through is that, your ego is playing games and might play games this week, which is why you might get some of this old stuff coming back to be finally sorted out. Your ego likes certainty. It likes to know what it's doing. It likes to have repetition to feel safe. But actually, as I've been saying to you over the last few months, it's time to step away from our egos as much as possible. Not to ignore them. Our egos are there for a reason, but just to dial it down a little bit and to really trust your, yourself, your intuition, dealing with something in a different way, So it's kind of, in some ways it's a gentle week, but it's also about acknowledging how far you've come. It's about being grateful. It's about being, about appreciating yourself, some compassion, because we can be really hard on ourselves sometimes, can't we? When we feel like we haven't got any further. I was talking to one of my coaches the other day, and I was like, I really should know this by now. I should really know what I'm doing. I've been at this for 3 months. And what I'm actually trying to do is change a complete pattern of behaviour that I've had for at least 40 years, probably. So she said, 3 months is not that long, but look how far you've come, right? And it's things like that. So some of us are trying to change major patterns of behaviour, and we've been trying to change major patterns of behaviour. And it takes work, it's hard, it's not easy, but we also have to acknowledge that we are doing the work, that we are doing really well, and we're a lot further forward than we think we are. That's the key. And the more you show up with intention and with love and with consideration for yourself and for others, the further you'll be along the way you're meant to be heading. So they're the sort of things to be concentrating on this week. And then, obviously the summer solstice, it's a beautiful time of year, great, equal amounts of light and dark. It's the longest day of the year, isn't it, over in the Northern Hemisphere? Lots of light, lots of sun, in theory. But there is lots of sun energy around. I don't know if you've been noticing or feeling the solar flares we've been having on the planet. They're just massive at the moment. There's real big shifts going on, and that's affecting us. So if you've been feeling, oversensitive or tired, can't sleep, these are the things. This has been going on for a reason. It's clearing, but that means that we're going through a lot of change. And the summer solstice, the solstice is all about being still and being in reflection. So anything that you can do which allows you to do that this week would be amazing. Really tuning into what your intuition is trying to tell you, what your soul is trying to tell you. Because don't forget, that's the path we're all on, to bring in more of what our soul wants us to be. And on that note, that's why these soul plan readings I have on offer are really good, to bring you that awareness of, your kind of blueprint. I did a session for a lady the other day who just, felt like there were so many light bulb moments and that she finally understood herself. So, having said that, I mean, they're still on offer up and including July, but I am going away soon, so they probably won't get done till July. So, if you're thinking of having one and you want to, I've only got a limited amount of spaces, so if you're thinking of having one, let me know, and I'll get you sort of booked in to the system at least. Anyway, I digress. It's just that the soul plan is becoming really obvious to me that it's really helpful to kind of put us back on track. Anyway, let's see what else my guides have to say. I think, though, they won't, well, I say they might not have much more, but that's because I've already consulted with them before I come on here. So let me see, I'll bring them in. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so it is a week of reflection. It's also a week where you can really take stock, which we guess is the same thing. And it's also about, it's about deciding what you want, you know, and being intentional with that. And what might come up for you this week is a chance for more healing, as Alwyn has said, or maybe patterns or ways of being that have been in your way for a while now. Maybe you thought you dealt with them, but they haven't quite been dealt with to the extent they need to be dealt with. So you might be shown those a bit this week, but just see them as an opportunity for you to heal them. All right. Coming out of Gemini season and more into Cancer season, you know, by the weekend. Cancer is a water sign, so much more emotional, highly sensitive, highly intuitive. So it's really moving more into that energy as well. So there's a chance for healing, as Alwyn has said, and as we're saying, there's also an invitation here for you to really note and acknowledge yourself. So note down maybe how far you've come. Note down the achievements you've made since the beginning of the year, or even since the spring equinox. You know, just see, because often as humans you forget to do that. You forget. You just keep going forward and keep going forward, which is lovely, but at the same time, an acknowledgement of what you've already achieved can be helpful, right? And then it's just about deciding, if you want to, what you need to do next, because there will be this desire this week, probably more towards the end of the week, well, mid to end of the week, to really get clear. And then to take those action steps, to really step into your soul's calling and what you need to do to be more aligned. Yeah. So the time for action, even though we're heading into Cancerian season, excuse Alwyn, even though heading into Cancer season, you know, the last bits of Gemini are encouraging you to finish things off that need to be finished off, and you know, use the mental energy of Gemini for that, but tuning into your intuition as well. Okay. It's a beautiful energy. It's soft, but at the same time it's reflective. Excuse me. There's clearly something that needs shifting in my throat. Maybe yours too. And I think maybe that's all to do with being honest with ourselves, as this energy seems to be asking us to be honest. You know, are the things we haven't changed that we know we need to? Maybe that's what's coming up. Maybe I'm included in that because I was the one that started coughing, but also I can also be picking up on the collective energy. Anyway, slightly different energies of the week this week because I did less channeling, but that's because of my throat, and I feel like a lot of the information I'd already shared with you, which is kind of a mixture of my intuition and my guides. Anyway, so just so that you're aware, the next few Mondays there won't be any live channeling because I am travelling, but there will be some opportunities to choose a card, that sort of thing. So I wish you a wonderful few weeks, and I will be back and channeling, I think it's the 14th of July, so that's quite a long time, isn't it? But I will be back. So take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.